Before starting this research video, I want to make a solemn declaration. This research video and most videos of this channel have nothing to do with Tamil chauvinism. The unassailable truth is that the modern humanity originated from a single source. That source was Lemuria, known as Kumarikandam from antiquity in Tamil. It was actually Lemuria that was wrongly labeled as Atlantis, and I had established the same by a special video titled Atlantis Myth Solved. The first spread of humanity happened due to the deluge cataclysm of Lemurian continent roughly 11,000 years ago. That is how the Jews' forefather Noah landed up in Khazar region, and the ancient American, Australian-like civilizations also originated from the same cataclysm. There were the two major wars in the world, that is, the ancient Lanka and South India combined, instigated by the Jews. These two wars accounted for further dispersal of humans from the unsubmerged portions of Lemuria, which I called as world. These two wars were called Ramayanam and Mahabharatam. Though they were local wars, the consequences of these wars lead us to characterize them as global in the real sense. This is due to the exodus of the defeated forces to various lands. It is this exodus from the Ramayanam war that we are going to discuss in this research video. In the Ramayana war, the people who stood opposed to Ravana, the then world famous Lankan king, were of three major types. 1. The people of South Indian Western Ghats mountain region ruled by Sugriva. 2. Vibhishana and his followers. Vibhishana was the very brother of Ravana, who originally belonged to Lankan mountain regions, and the king of Lanka ruling from Jaffna. 3. Descendants of Murugan, who were coaxed and attached to Vibhishana's forces by Rama the Jew, the chief opponent of Ravana. I use the word descendants to mean all kinds of people whom Murugan salvaged from the deluge. Ramayana war happened in two fronts. The first one happened in Pak Strait between Ravana's forces and Sugriva's forces and led by Rama. It was a sea war. The story that Rama built a bridge in the sea over a distance of 30 kilometers is utter nonsense. Would the mighty Ravana have allowed it to happen? The meaning of Ramar Setu is entirely different, and I would discuss this in an exclusive video later. The theatre of second war front was in southern Lanka between Ravana's forces and Vibhishana's forces, who led the combined force of his own and that of Murugan's descendants. This was a land war. In both the war fronts, only Ravana's forces declared victory. Rama, Lakshmana, Vibhishana and Sugriva were killed in the battle. Thus, the losers of the war were the three types mentioned above. As they started the war in the first place, they had to flee their homeland, fearing persecution by the winners. I have to mention specifically that only the warrior clans of the three types of people fled their homelands and not the common civilians of these three types. Among the three types of people, the warrior clans belonging to South Indian Western Ghats mountain region settled in southern Saharan region as two nations, Mauritania and Mali, which surprisingly retained their original names for the past 7,500 years. Sugriva's men settled in Mauritania under the leadership of Maruti, and the Wali's faithful settled in Mali nation, the name of which deformed from Wali, the original name of that nation. This was discussed in my previous English video titled Defeated in Ramayanam War, Hanuman fled to Sahara. The second type of warrior clan, the faithfuls of Vibhishana, settled in Mesopotamia. I would discuss this in an exclusive video later. The third type of warrior clan composed of two subtypes. 1. Murugan's cowherds, who earlier landed up in southern Lanka following the deluge of Lemuria 3000 years prior to Ramayanam war. 2. The mountain people of Lemurian continent, who are called today as Nadas. Both these people were saved by Murugan from the deluge and rehabilitated in southern Lanka. Both these types of Murugan's descendants did not land in the same region of northern Sahara. Murugan's cowherd people chose the land in northwestern Sahara near Morocco. The Nadar warrior clan settled in northeastern Sahara known today as Egypt. How do I say this? These two kinds of people are culturally different from each other, and more importantly, they used different scripts for Tamil language in the same Saharan region. We shall first consider the people who settled in Moroccan region of Sahara. They are called today as Berbers. They live in Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, northern Mauritania, northern Mali regions. As they are living in dry Saharan desert, they are called Berbers. The etymology of the word Berber is as follows: Varavara, Barabara, Berabara, Berber. The word Varavara is grammatically called as Irattai Kilavi in Tamil, and this word expresses dryness as dry objects make Varavara sound while handling. The language they speak is called Tamazi. How did this name originate? The primary god of these people was Murugan. Murugan was also called Mudu Siddha by these people, which means ancient saint. Mudu Siddha, Dumu Siddh, Dumuzid, Dumus, Tamus. Thus, the Tamil word Mudu Siddha deformed over a period of time as Tamus. Tamus was the god of the Berbers and the Middle East people in ancient times. Murugan initiated second Tamil Sangam post-deluge. So, Murugan, the Tamus, was associated with the Tamil language. As Berbers spoke the language of Tamus, their god, their language was called Tamasi. And even the name Tamil itself originated so. Tamus, Tamazi. What was the script of Tamazi? The Maori of East Island and New Zealand migrated from Mauritania as explained in the previous English video on Hanuman. The East Island script was the same as IVC script but was known as Rongo Rongo. The Maori called Murugan as Rongo. Hence, it is very obvious that Murugan developed Rongo Rongo, known popularly as IVC script. I had explained this in detail in an earlier video titled Who Created the Indus Script? Part 1, Easter Island Connection. Indus Valley script was named so as it was discovered first by the modern humans there. But it originated from ancient southern Lanka, the original home of Murugan post-deluge. The Lankan people who settled in Moroccan region following the defeat in Ramayanam war, known today as Berbers, called this script as Tifina. How did this name originate? They knew that Tamil language and its script was due to Murugan, who initiated second Tamil Sangam in southern Lanka following the deluge and subsequent resettlement. Hence, as this script originated from the island called Lanka, they called it Tifina, and the etymology of it is as follows: Tivu plus na, Tifuna, Tifuna, Tifina. Here, Tivu means island in Tamil. Na means tongue literally, but contextually as script. Hence, Tifina means the script of the island, which was Lanka. Kindly watch the video titled Berber Nation and Tamils, Part 2 of Who Created Indus Script. The name Morocco itself deformed from the name Murugan, the Lankan god of the Berber people. The earlier name of Morocco was Marrakesh, and there is a big city in this name. In fact, the city was the capital of Marrakesh earlier. This name also originated from god Murugan, who was called Murugan the Eason. Murugesh, Marugesh, Marrakesh. The Berber people currently living in many states of Sahara do have a common flag. It's made of blue, yellow and green colors. A double trishul is also printed in red color on this flag. This double trishul is said to mean that Berbers are free people, and the red color symbolizes resistance. Originally, trishul, the hunting tool, was devised by Shiva, who developed iron smelting technology in his times in Lemurian continent, originally detailed in Rig Veda. But double trishul was devised by Murugan, the god of war, as a tool used in close combats. The Berbers were the warrior clan of ancient Lanka, whose forefathers were warriors under Murugan. Kindly remember that Murugan fought a war called Surasamharam against the mountain Kauravas of Lanka, who were opposed to Murugan torching the palm forest to clear the land for agriculture. The Berbers language, name of this language, its script and the name of the script, their god, name of the country, their culture, their flag, etc. proves that they originated from ancient Lanka. We shall now discuss about Egypt. Between Egypt and the Berber land in Libya, there is an oasis called Shiva, named after god Shiva, and there is also a Murugan temple, that is, Amman Oracle temple in that oasis. Berber people called Murugan also as Amman. It further shows the connection of ancient Berbers and the Egyptians with god Murugan. The people of today's Egypt originally settled there following the defeat in Ramayanam war, just like the Berbers. The forefathers of Egyptians were also the warriors under Murugan. But unlike the Berbers who used the Tifina script that Murugan developed, the ancient Egyptians used the hieroglyph, a pictorial script. What is the origin of the hieroglyph script? Why did the Egyptians build the pyramids? Why did they establish obelisks? When we find answer to such questions, we shall realize that the ancient Egyptians were Nadars, a distinct caste of Tamils. Who were the Nadars? They were a section of people whom Murugan rescued from the deluge of Lemurian continent and settled them in southern Lanka. The very name Nadar means that they belong to the mountains of Lemurian continent. The word Nadu means the land demarcated by erected boundary posts. Erecting a post is called in Tamil as Natu, from which the word Nadu originated. As ancient man lived on the mountains predominantly, the first country originated on the mountains, and that was called Nadu. The Lemurian mountain king was Shiva, who was the very first king who became a god after his nirvana, and hence the Nadar's original god was Shiva. Being the first king of humanity, he developed political science theory, which formed the original theme of Samaveda. Kindly watch earth-shaking facts on the four Vedas. The first country that originated on the ground region was due to Murugan. He was a cowherder in Lemurian continent and saved his herder population along with the mountain Nadas from the deluge. After settling in southern Lanka, he initiated farming technology to feed his huge refugee population. He created the farming land by burning the palm forest. As fire was created by rubbing, fire was named in Tamil as Tei, Ti, Ti, where Tei means rub. As he created a big fire, he was called Tevan, meaning the creator of fire, and after his nirvana was also called Agni Devan, the god of fire. Because of this, the huge agricultural land and the agricultural country that he created was called Tesam, which originated from the word meaning fire. Hence, the country on the ground was called Tesam or Desam. Thus, the mountain country was called Nadu and the ground country was called Desam. The Nadars who settled in the region called today as Egypt did farming in the Nile Delta. We know that farming technology was invented by Murugan and these Nadars were well versed in it. Hence, the Nadars called their Egyptian nation as Desam, as the ground region was called Desam after Murugan. As Egypt was basically a desert land of red sand, they called Egypt as Deshret, meaning red land. Desh plus Rat, Deshret, where Desh means country and Rat means blood literally and red contextually. In fact, the Tamil word Ratham yielded the English word red. Deshret means red country. It is from Deshret that the word desert originated. As the agricultural land was called Kamam by Murugan, Egypt was also called Kamam, Kamat, Kemet. All the names of Egypt are of Tamil origin and it is beyond the scope of this video to discuss them all. The ancient Egyptians being the descendants of Murugan and they came from ancient Lanka is being proved by the ancient names of Egypt, namely Deshret and Kemet. These names were derived from Desh and Kamam respectively, which originated in ancient Lanka and due to Murugan. This is a solid proof. Nadars originated from Lemurian continent and hence Shiva was their original god, the god of Lemuria. However, They kept Murugan also very dear to them, as Murugan saved their forefathers from the deluge, who later attained nirvana and became a god too. As Murugan created Saptamada, called as Amman, Murugan himself was called as Amman by both Berbers and the Egyptians, and Amman deformed to Amun in Egypt. Thus, the god Amun of Egypt points to Murugan. As Murugan was a war god, he is depicted as Ram, the fighter animal, often depicted as one of the mounts of Murugan. The fact that Murugan, the Tammuz, was the god of fertility is also acknowledged in Egypt. The fact that Murugan invented farming technology is expressed by depicting the sprouting seeds along with him. Thus, it proves that Nadas who migrated to Egypt worshipped Murugan also. We shall now consider about how they worshipped their primary god Shiva. Shiva was a mountain god, but the Nadas who lived in desert were nostalgic about mountain, which they were missing badly in Egypt, the country in the desert plains. How to worship their mountain god Shiva without a mountain? Why not make a mountain in the desert? Those mountains shall be made to represent Shiva himself. How? About 11,000 years ago, Murugan created the first zodiac remembering god Shiva. Kindly watch the video Capricorn Zodiac and the Amazing History of Mankind, published earlier in this channel. Vorai was the Tamil equivalent for zodiac, and zodiac is also a Tamil name. As the first Vorai represented Shiva, he was called Vorayon, which deformed to Orion. Hence, Nadas created three mountains which represented the three central stars of the Orion constellation. Hence, these mountains were made like four-dimensional arrow pointing to the respective star of the Orion. That is how the pyramids of Giza were built. As these mountains were laid by these people, it was aptly named in Tamil as Perum plus Idu, Perumidu, Pyramid, Pyramid. Here, Perum means very big and Idu means lay. The literal meaning of pyramid is laid very big, and it contextually means mountain. The ancient Tamils always gave names which reflected their purpose, and hence, if the pyramids were for some other purpose, they might have named it differently, suiting their purpose. The Egyptians of today had the idea that pyramids were built as a projection of Orion constellation on the ground. However, some Western researchers questioned this interpretation and they suggested that the match might just be a coincidence. However, the fact that these pyramids were originally built to glorify Shiva is evident from the etymology of the word Giza itself. The Orion constellation is in the cosmos, called in Tamil as Kayam. In fact, the word cosmos itself originated from Tamil word Kayam. Hence, the etymology of Giza is as follows: Kayam, Kasam, Kasa, Gasa, Giza. Kaya plus Vasam, Kasa plus Vasam, Kasvas, Kasmas, Cosmos. Hence, Kayam or Kasam means outer space. Vasam means living literally and existing contextually. The Orion constellation is existing in the cosmos. Hence, the pyramids were built to remember the mountain god Shiva, and they were built as mountains in three-dimensional arrow form pointing to the respective individual stars of the Orion constellation of the cosmos. Obviously, the builders of the pyramid should have been the mountain people, whose primary god should have been Shiva. Nadas matched this specification. Proving this fact, the Nadas are worshipping Shiva in the pyramidal form even in southern Tamil Nadu, where they are living in large numbers. I was stunned on comparing the pyramidal pillars representing Shiva and the Egyptian pyramids of Giza. These pyramidal pillars are called Sudalai Madan, one of the names of Shiva. As bull is portrayed in front of Shiva in temples, which accounts for the Taurus in front of Orion constellation, Shiva was called Madan, where Madu means bull in Tamil. As a part of Shiva worship, people lit lamp called Sudalai on each of the three pillars to represent the three Orion stars. Hence, these three pillars are called Sudalai Madan. That is how these three pillars came to be called as Sudalai Madan. In fact, it is from this ancient practice that the lamp housing pouch in Tamil houses got the name as Madam. By the way of solving the Egyptian pyramids, I have also solved the etymology of the Tamil word Madam, the lamp pouch. The Lemurian Nadars did not worship Shiva through images, and they only worshipped him as Altara, that is altar. However, due to the influence of Murugan, who started image worship as a way to preserve the history of Shiva, the Nadars of Tamil Nadu worship Shiva in both the pyramidal form and in human image. The Giza pyramids also represent Murugan and his Asivagam, the ancient parent religion of the world. How? The Egyptians say that the outer casing of the Giza pyramids were of black, red and white color as shown here. As the casing stones were looted and due to environmental causes, these colors aren't quite discernible now. This idea was expressed by an Egyptian video titled The Pyramid Code, and what is shown here is the reconstruction of the original pyramids. That's really amazing. Why? They suggested this without any clue as to why they could have been colored so. Yet, they were absolutely correct, and that's amazing. We Tamils know that these three colors are the subset of 7 colors of Asivagam, the spirituality initiated by Murugan 11,000 years ago. These colors represent Kali, the black key, Lakshmi, the red lady, and Saraswati, the white lady. Their counterparts in the ancient desert world were called Al-Usha, Al-Lat, and Al-Manas respectively. Hence, the pyramids originally were indeed of these colors. Asivagam was initiated in Lanka by Murugan, and Nadas were the people of Murugan, and this proves further that pyramids were built by Nadars. As the first zodiac, called in Tamil as Orai, was created to remember Shiva, he was called in Egypt too as Orai, Horai, Hora, Horus. As Shiva was the first to discover Kundalini meditation, there is a disc representing the 7th chakra of Kundalini depicted on the head of Horus. To stamp the information that it was due to Kundalini Yoga, a cobra is shown circling it. The ancient kings of Tamils were all Siddhas who became gods after Nirvana. Thus, Shiva, Muruga, Indra, Krishna, and Vishnu were all Siddha kings, and they all raised Kundalini. Hence, it was a mandatory custom for the kings to raise Kundalini before the advent of dynastic rule. Dynastic rule started well after the times of Vishnu, the emperor of India, about 3,800 years ago. Thus, Egyptian kings too raised the Kundalini, continuing the Lemurian tradition. It is to record this fact that Egyptian kings are ornated with a cobra crown. The Nadars, who originally belonged to Lemurian mountains, obviously worshipped Shiva as their primary god, and to glorify Shiva, they built Giza pyramids, and these facts serve to prove that Nadars were ancient Egyptians, and it was they who built Giza pyramids. There are further proofs to concretely establish this truth. The Egyptian script forms one such unassailable proof. Though Murugan salvaged the Nadas from the deluge, the Egyptian Nadas did not use Tifna script that Murugan created in Lanka, but continued using hieroglyph script that Shiva created in Lemuria. The mountain people have strong hold on tradition and try saving it as far as possible. That's why they continued using their own hieroglyph while the Berbers used the new script Tifina. Murugan, who took great efforts to salvage the history of Shiva post-deluge, should have also instructed the Nadas to continue using hieroglyph to preserve history. Ayyar plus Kizhipu, Ayyar Kizhipu, higher clip, hieroglyph. Here, Ayyar means great sage, and it refers to Shiva. Shiva, in his times, created the first ever script for Tamil language, and it was the pictorial script, obviously. He recorded information using the pictorial script on sheets of leather and the bones of animals. Sil means broken piece of stone or potware, with a sharp edge. He used these sills to engrave information using the pictorial script that he developed. Shiva was the southerner. As this traditional information was known to everyone of the ancient world, 10 plus sill, stencil, the English word stencil originated. 10 means south in Tamil. Thus, the pictorial script was originally used to write on leather sheets and bones by engraving using the sills by Shiva. That's how it got the name hieroglyph, and the Nadas knew it by this name, which meant engraved by the great sage. As the script is pictorial, Murugan coined a new name called Chitra Eduthu. Picture is called Chittiram in Tamil. This word should have originated from Sivasiddha, who created pictorial script. Siddhar plus Siddharam, Sittiram, Chitram, Chitra. Means beauty. As Sivasiddha created this beautiful script, it was called Chitra Eduthu, where Eduthu means script. To transmit this fact that Shiva created Chitra Eduthu to posterity, Murugan created a mythology. According to it, the god of death called Yama, which is an aspect of Shiva, had an assistant and record keeper called Chitragupta. Here, Chitra means pictorial script and Gupta means administrator. Chitragupta is said to keep a record of the sins and virtues of humans, and based on their net worth, he decided the future abode of the respective human after death, which was either heaven or hell. Through this mythology, Murugan retained the history that it was Shiva who invented pictorial writing system called as hieroglyph by the Nadas and named by Murugan as Chitra Eduthu. Thus, though the Egyptians settled in Sahara along with Berbers, they did not use the Tifna script created by the ground king Murugan, but used the hieroglyph script created by the mountain king Shiva, and this fact proves that Egyptians were the Nadas of ancient Lanka. There is more to the Nadas heritage. Among Nadas, a section of people were called Sanars, who were primarily toddy tappers. In Lemuria, there were plenty of palm trees of the kind shown here on the mountains. It is called Panai in Tamil. This name originated from the common name of the mountain itself. Malai means mountain in Tamil. Malai, Palai, Panai. How did the toddy tappers get the name Sanar? Panai normally grows straight upwards. Its leaf is not wide like coconut tree but narrow. Hence, if you see palm tree from a distance, it appears like phallus, the male sex organ, and it was named by ancient Tamils as An, meaning male, and the people who make a living using palm trees were called Anar, and this word deformed to yield Sanar. I had stated that Nadas who migrated to Egypt were nostalgic about mountain, which was their habitat in ancient times, and hence they built mountain-like pyramids while also remembering Shiva. The Nadas were also nostalgic about their palm trees. There wasn't any palm tree in deserts, and only dates are found in the desert. Hence, the people who built pyramids remembering mountains should have built something to remember the palm trees too. The obelisks of Egypt originated thus. Obelisks symbolize phallus. The palm tree also symbolizes phallus. Hence, obelisks were erected to symbolize the palm tree. Obelisk is a Greek word. Ancient Egyptian name for phallus, the obelisk, was Tekkenu. In ancient Egyptian language, Tekkenu means pierce. As Panai, the palm, originally belonged to Lemuria, which is in south, it was named Tekkenu in Tamil, meaning south. Thus, we are establishing that the ancient Egyptians were Nadas through obelisks also. There is yet another info on Sanar and Egypt. Israel, known as Canaan land, lies very close to Egypt. The toddy tapping Nadas were called Sanan or Sanar, as established already, where Sanar is the plural form. As these people were the ones who occupied the land first, that land was called Sanan, Canaan. The land of Sanan deformed as Canaan. Hence, the original inhabitants of Canaan were Nadas. These Nadas, who originally belonged to the mountains of Lemuria, were called Kurinji people. Post-deluge, they lived in Lanka in the forest called as Mullai and also the agricultural land that Murugan developed known as Marudam. After Ramayan war and following their exodus, they had to live in the desert region called as Palai. Palai plus Thanam, Palai Thanam, Palestinam, Palestine. Thanam means place. Desert was named Palai as it has cactus plants which shed milk like liquid on injury. Milk is called Pal in Tamil and hence the wondrous Pal land was called Pal plus I, Palai, the desert. And I means wondrous. Hence, the Palestine people were from ancient Lanka. There are Muslim names with surname as Nadar and they should indeed be the Nadas of Lemuria. I said that Nadas built pyramids as they were very nostalgic about their ancient habitat which was mountain. We shall find now if there be any other purpose for building mountain-like pyramids. The fact they were used like kurgans and dead royals were buried beneath them is exemplified by the first pyramid they built known as Saqqara. The Tamil word Sigaram meaning peak deformed to Saqqara. Sigaram, Sikara, Saqqara. It was built as a step pyramid and was the very first pyramid and built about 4,800 years ago. It was then followed by Giza pyramids. Hence, one of the purposes of pyramids was to bury the dead and that was always in the subterranean chambers below the pyramid mountains. That's why all the pyramids have subterranean chambers. Among the three pyramids of Giza, the Great Pyramid is an exception. In addition to the subterranean chambers, it has chambers on the upper part of the pyramid. They are Queen's Chamber, King's Chamber, and the Grand Gallery. Researchers are clueless on the purpose of these beautifully constructed chambers. Many theories were advanced so far, and none of them offer comprehensive solution to the puzzle. I am going to furnish the comprehensive solution to the puzzle that the Great Pyramid poses. It was Shiva of Lemuria who discovered Kundalini meditation. Starting from Shiva and beyond Murugan, who further developed it with the seven chakra concept, every ancient king of Tamil land performed Kundalini yoga, and it was indeed prescribed for the kings to govern their land with wisdom and supernatural power. Obviously, the direct descendants of Shiva, the Nadars, indeed performed Kundalini yoga. The Siddhas, including Shiva, lived in mountain caves. Hence, they performed Kundalini yoga in the mountain caves. I said that pyramid was an artificial mountain. Pyramid being a mountain, it should have caves to perform Kundalini yoga by the royals. It is for that purpose that King's Chamber should have been built and the Queen Chamber shall also have been for the same purpose. These cave-like spaces in the pyramidal mountain offered peaceful sanctuaries away from the bustle of the palace for the kings and queens in order to perform meditation. Om Mantra is related to Kundalini yoga and it was due to Murugan. The Grand Gallery could have been constructed as a resonant chamber for Om Mantra. The shafts shown here could have been constructed to generate the Om Mantra while providing fresh air to the chamber. Proving this, in Chittanna Vasal in Tamil Nadu, which was an ancient hermitage, their meditation hall was also designed to resonate Om Mantra. Shiva was a mountain Siddha and he lived in caves and he meditated in caves. The Giza Pyramid Mountains were created representing the Orion constellation to glorify Shiva. Kings and queen chambers were created representing the mountain caves for performing meditation by the royals. The Grand Gallery functioned as a resonator for Om Mantra. The snake crowns of Egyptian royals symbolize the Kundalini yoga that they indeed performed. Considering all these points, the pyramids were built to mimic the mountain and they were utilized for meditation by the royals and for preserving the embalmed bodies of the dead. No one has advanced a comprehensive explanation for the Giza pyramids and I am the first to propose it, and it was possible as Tamils are preserving their original language, tradition and customs. Before concluding this video, I want to state that the Egyptian names weren't properly reconstructed. many of the Egyptian names sound very bizarre and they are not the correct pronunciation. The Rosetta Stone could have aided faithful reconstruction of information, but they could not have been of use in proper reconstruction of names. It is very easy to understand it. For instance, I know all the alphabets of English and the sounds they represent. However, we need pronunciation tips for pronouncing English words properly. As an example, I originally read Naive as naive, but its correct pronunciation seems to be naive. This is despite the fact that English is an alphabetic language. But how could they have learnt proper pronunciation of names from a non-alphabetic pictorial language? One needs a good knowledge of Tamil language, experience, and fertile ideas to properly reconstruct the Egyptian names. In my earlier video on Lemuria, Atlantis myth solved, we have seen that Atlantis was first proposed by Plato, who learnt about it from the Egyptians through his grandfather. In that video, I had established that Atlantis actually meant Lemurian continent, and I had also established it through etymology, which means southern land. Now that I have established that the ancient Egyptians were from ancient Lanka, who previously settled in Lanka following the deluge of Kumari continent, they should have only told about Atlantis, meaning southern land, to the grandfather of Plato, and Plato should have mistook it to have existed near the Pillars of Gibraltar, thus naming that ocean as Atlantic Ocean. Hence, Atlantis meaning southern land is a misnomer for the very big ocean, and it is funny that's how the history progressed. The Poseidon of Atlantic was actually Shiva of Lemurian continent, and hence the Atlantis was actually Kumari Kandam, known as Lemuria in the west.